A few months back, I made a video comparing 58mm baskets and extractions to 49mm ones. And the way I went about doing this was by taking a 58mm basket and then one that was a 58 to 49mm step down basket. And I, across the board, preferred the ones with the 49mm step down. The Espresso puck itself is a very efficient filtration unit. You can also grind a bit more coarsely when you have a deeper puck, and I think all of that kind of combined not only led to a more efficient extraction, which was proved with the data, but it gave me tastier shots across the board. Why are all these machines coming out at 58? Well, there's no real reason why besides the fact that that's what's been used in commercial settings for a long time. Why is it used in commercial settings? It's not because it's the best. This was just a size that was chosen years ago that gave you enough coffee in the Porta Filter at a certain time to give you the beverages you needed to serve. In fact, 58 wasn't always the MO. That was not always the epitome of good espresso. They were even bigger at one point, so there were 4-shot splits underneath on old E61 groups with even bigger group heads. So it really came down to what was manageable in a service setting to serve as many drinks as possible. 58 just kind of stuck, and that's what's been used. So now people want 58 because they want all the accessories that come with it, and they just accept that's kind of the pinnacle of espresso. Well, after my video on that, people were like, oh, I want to try 49, but I already bought and invested in a 58 or whatever it might be. So there is a maker by the name of Sheldon Wong. He runs Sworks, or I call Sworks, out in the Bay Area. And he is someone that watches my YouTube as well as a lot of other things and is always trying to figure out ways to create fun fixes or modifications or changes to your existing equipment to allow you to play around a bit more. Right at the beginning, I paid for these. I paid $200 for this, and for the other things, I paid around $1,000 for everything, so you can kind of see the full array of options that we have. Obviously, that's a very expensive price to pay for people to just be able to play around with 49mm basket shots. So we came out with a few different options, some that are the same price or more expensive, and some that are a bit cheaper. The point of me kind of highlighting it is A, I think it's sick because, well, I love 49mm shots, and I love some of these 58mm machines. But B, there is hopefully more innovation that will be coming with this to make this a more likely possibility. And C, I'm hoping that manufacturing companies see the kind of desire for smaller portafilters and maybe will make some more options as opposed to everything striving to be 58, because that is just like so blasé. The first phase is, getting something like this. This is the easiest switch. You just toss this into your 58mm portafilter, which I've got a Sworks basket in there now, but we'll just toss this right on in, and bada bing, bada boom, you have your 49mm puck. He also has a funnel that fits inside of here so that you can dose directly into the deeper part and tamp in there, but you can do it without that. My whole video, I had the worst workflow ever because I forgot I had that funnel, and it's definitely doable without that, but that's the easiest way to go about doing it. Probably a smart thing to do with a $200 basket. The next thing that he made, which I think is really nice, though it's not my favorite, it is a very cheap option though, assuming you already have his 58mm basket, because it wouldn't make sense to make this for every basket on the market. He's made this little bushing for $45. You put inside, and you just push it all the way down. And then you have your own kind of makeshift step down. He made this little bushing made out of PPS plastic, which I know a lot of people are against the plastic, but this is a really high quality piece for like a 2-inch thick rod at per foot. It's like $380 US or something. And it's what's used in the decent group head as well for the dispersion block. And so the big issue with this is that the bed depth is still very small. So in comparison to the step down basket, it's less than half of the depth. So you can really only do like 10-gram shots or less, which is not ideal, but even still, we'll pull a shot and we will see how that tasty taste goes. Just like that, we have our puck in there. Let's go ahead, toss the screen on top, just a little billet screen. We're gonna go ahead and yeet out a little water so that it cools down a bit. Get some fresh water in the boiler, because this is a single boiler without PID control, just to kind of show what all machines this can work on. Anything with an E61, or honestly, anything with a portafilter where you can put a Sworks basket. And here we go. And there we have our shot. It's quite nice. We'll go ahead and get all that out. There we go. There goes the ring. And so we can pull out the bushing and take a look at the bottom of this basket. As you see, there's a ring around the edge where no coffee was going through. Of course, because of viscosity and the bonding, the adhesion of the liquid on the bottom, it was showing all the way to the edge, but there was no coffee touching that outer surface. So we have our coffee here. It's all broken up because it wasn't a very dry puck, because the headspace was so big that even with the solenoid releasing, it wasn't able to suck all the water out. That's going to happen with this. So the workflow is not going to be ideal, but it will give you smaller diameters so you can have smaller shots of espresso. If that's something that you're wanting, you can kind of emulate teeny tiny pucks that you could do in something like a Slayer and Linea or something along those lines. Let's move on. This is kind of stage 2 of the modification. This one is if you don't want to deal with that little bushing, you don't want to deal with a step-down basket. So we're going to take a 49mm basket and this Porta Filter that is essentially a converter in and of itself. Then you're going to take one of these little thick rubber gaskets, going to toss it right in, and then we're going to take our basket that is also our shower screen and dispersion block, and you push it just like so. All right, we've got this all set up. Let's go ahead, cool down the machine a bit. All right, load this in. And pull our shot. There we have a 49mm basket on a Ranchillo Sylvia. Look at that. That's so fun. All right, so I had a 15-gram dose in. We'll pull about 30 out. And it looks at about 30 seconds. Nice and traditional style. Oh, yeah, 32 seconds. Look at that. Look at the crema. Look at this. All right, so we have that. Obviously, they give you more body, they give you more texture, but they can also give you a much more even representation of the coffee, a much more balanced representation. You still get the piercing acidity if you're using really light roast. You get the florals, the aromatics, without kind of losing balance. But you can also do thinner shots with it, obviously, depending on how you're profiling it and the grind size you're using. But it allows you to use a coarser grind size than a 58mm corollary at the same dose because you have a deeper bed and it stops the water a bit. It gives a bit more resistance to the water going through, even at coarser grounds. Now, the third stage of this modification, if you want to do it, you have a Porta Filter. That is your conversion. You have got the shower screen here, the dispersion screen, shower screen here. But what's really cool about this one, and why I definitely prefer it from phases 1 and 2, is that this one acts as a group head as well. So you take a 49mm Porta Filter and you lock it in like so. And now essentially this Porta Filter is acting as a 49mm group head. Of course, you don't even need to use the Sworks basket with this. We can use like this 1973 Cremina Porta Filter. Let's go ahead, pull a shot. Let's do this. All right, so what I like to do here as well, because the water can get pretty hot sitting there, I'm just gonna flush some out. As you see, it's really hot in there, but it'll start slowing down the drops here in a bit. And there we go. So let's go ahead, lock this in. Here we go. And look at us, we're pulling old school streetman style shots through a Cremina Porta Filter on a Ranchillo Sylvia. Doesn't get much more hodgepodge than that, eh? All right, so we're at 20 grams. I put 15 in. We'll stop at about 30. Boom. 25-second shot. We'll use a different basket, obviously, so a bit faster. And there we have it. The acidity was really nice on that. All right. Now, the last one is definitely what I think is the most exciting. Sheldon has essentially recreated group heads for different machines so that you can actually have a 49mm group head. So like for instance on the Decent, it's obviously made for 58, but he just changed some of the things at the end and now it's a 49mm group head. We can take the 49mm Porta Filter and check this out. Boom. We got a 49mm Decent espresso machine. Now I see he's also made one for Slayer and for the La Marzocco Linea Mini. Who knows what else will be made. Right now this is sitting at like $295, so definitely not cheap, but again, he's making these in small batches, so I get it, and I think that I think it's a really cool option. Switching it out is not that difficult. Essentially, you're just taking out this piece of aluminum from the Decent. He's machined his own that fits for his shower screen and dispersion block, etc. And you take out the dispersion block and the shower screen, and you're good to go. We got our shot prepped and ready to go. Let's go ahead and load it into our new 49mm group, and we'll do the Cremina profile. This is also works really well for super light roasts. I use Substance, Picky Chemist, Onyx out here in Europe, which are all really, really lightly roasted coffees, and I still prefer 49mm shots. But for aesthetics, today we're definitely using darker roasted coffees. It's kind of perfect what we're doing right now. And then it should stop at about 30 grams. Well, it didn't, so we're gonna stop it. Oh, it said 58 grams in here. I must have messed up putting it in. But we stopped it at 36 grams out with a 15.5 gram dose. And so we emulated kind of that Cremina profile. So that 1 bar pressure for 15 seconds, ramping up to 9, and then slowly cascading down until I stopped it at the weight I was looking at. And I mean, look at this, 49mm group head. We have our shot, and we can just, right in the knock box, continue on. So thick. Shout out to Ryan Lee for the suggestion on Shisaka. Some dark roast that doesn't burn my mouth off. It's actually really enjoyable. Doing these 49mm shots, I think, helps coffees across the board taste better. At least they do to me. There's higher consistency with the deeper pucks. So if you don't want to have wildly inconsistent shots, especially depending on your grinder setup and your espresso machine setup, this is something that is really cool. I thought this deserved a spotlight because I'm egotistical and I'm really excited these were created because of my video, but I'm excited about innovation, and I love when people are willing to take on these risks in order to kind of explore further the depths of what we can do with coffee. This is not something you need to buy. I have no affiliate links with them. I do not have any commission with any of this. I bought this stuff. This is just me showing something that I enjoy and that I think is really neat. So if you enjoyed that, consider hitting the like below. Hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Check out my Patreon. But other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your year. And whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a great year. And I hope that you brew something tasty today. And cheers.